beneath my skin, not to shine, just to live. Streetlight halos flicker gold, faces worn but never old. Every scar a history, every break remembers me. They polish heaven far above, but down here we learn to mend. When the world decides you're nothing, you decide how you bend. We are street like Kintsugi, cracked but glowing in the seams. Broken lives held together by borrowed tech and stubborn dreams. They don't see us from the sky, but we burn when nights go long. Every fracture filled with light. We were broken, not gone. Old songs humming, data streams, grandmother ghost and vending screens, paper prayers and fiber lines, past and future intertwined. Coats that flicker, boots that lie, make us faster than goodbye. We don't fly, we don't ascend, we endure, we don't pretend. They call us static, call us noise, call us shadows in the frame, but every system ever built was cracked before it changed. We are street like Kintsugi, golden places pain once lived. Every wound a declaration of the things we didn't give. Let the towers keep their shine, we'll survive another dawn. Every scar is proof of life. We were broken, not gone. Mend the bowl, don't hide the break. Gold remembers what we take. Hands that fall still learn to hold.
Welcome in, everyone. And here we are. So I hope everyone's having a good afternoon, evening, or night, depending on where you are and what you're doing. So today I thought we'd talk a little bit about the Mandela effect. And this is in conjunction with the idea that so much is going on right now that would make it really easy for us to get things confused, for us to be manipulated. And I think focusing on how the Mandela effect, how some of them are obviously just misremembering, like Jiffy peanut butter. It never existed. I mean, even though I would swear growing up, Jiffy peanut butter existed. But I'm positive that my brain just mashed together Jif and Skippy. Because even when I think about the labeling, it's a mashup of the two labels. So, I mean, which I guess could mean that, again, you know, converging timelines. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist or it didn't happen. I'm just saying that in my mind, there's definitely I can see how it would be different. So, or how it could actually happen, how something could happen, like converging timelines, whatnot. Because, I mean, we still really don't understand how the world works, how physics really works. We're using our best guesses. You know, we think we have everything figured out, but when you really come down to it, science is constantly changing their ideas. I mean, nutrition has changed over how many years on what's good for you, what's bad for you, how much of what you need, how much of this you need, you know, and then you look at science. Oh, man will never fly. Okay, well, sure, but not fly like a bird. Oh, wait, you know, then we invented airplanes. Well, yeah, but you're probably not going to do anything else. And then we had hang gliders, we had parachutes, we had flight suits, or whatever they're called, the wingsuits. You know, we keep advancing things, and we keep getting told that things will never be able to do something one way or the other. And yet we keep bashing through it. So when we sit here and talk about science and look at the world as it is, and we look at all of this crap that's happening right now, I mean, and I'm not just talking political, I'm talking everything. We got so much going on. Oh, and, you know, shout out to people in Mexico. I hope whatever's going on gets solved soon. I really do. Being an American, I really don't know the truth of what's going on because I know what they say on the news, but I also am not dumb enough to believe everything on the news. Not yet, anyway. Maybe that'll come in time. So, I mean, I know what we're told, but I want to, you know, I don't know if that's really the truth. You know, whether it's cartels running riot, whether it's people just taking advantage of a situation, I really don't know. Or shoot, foreign government, maybe America's pushing buttons here and there. That's the problem, is how do we trust anything? And that's why I'm talking about the Mandela effect. When it comes down to the Mandela effect, you know, everybody is affected differently. And that's why I really like it. Because we can accept that for one person, it's one way. And for another, it's another way. Why can't we do that in real life? Why can't we, well, real life, you know what I mean? Why can't we do that with politics? Why can't we just accept that some people like something one way, some people like something another way? And with the files, with just so much. I mean, I don't want to get into everything. I really don't. I'm not trying to bring up all of that. I'm trying to make people more aware of just reasoning things out for yourself, accepting that what you see, what you believe is truth may not be something that somebody else accepts as truth. And that's okay. In fact, without that kind of friction, we wouldn't have the world we have today. Without that kind of friction between ideas and ideals, nothing new would ever come. Think about it. You always have to have some kind of counterforce, some kind of opposing idea, concept, whatever. You have to have something to work against. Otherwise, how do you know that you really believe in what you believe? How do you know what you think is real? Hey, what's up, Green Jeans? How you doing, buddy? What you really think you believe in is what you really believe in if it isn't tried, if it isn't tested, if you don't have to defend it, if somebody's not trying to pick it apart. You're just following along with what you're told. You're following along with this narrative that you've never even really had to question. Questioning what you believe is not wrong. Not at all. The biggest problem is when people don't. And I think that's where we are in politics, in the world today, even just certain fandoms, is the fact that they don't want to listen to a dissenting voice. They don't want to listen to somebody that's arguing with them. We have gotten so non-confrontational that we let the most confident person lead right off a cliff sometimes. We don't question what people tell us, what people want us to believe or think. And that really bothers me. That hits home. You know, it's like, I'm sure people have an idea that they think I'm whatever political stripe they think. And I guarantee you they're wrong, because I don't even know. I don't think of myself as a Democrat, Republican, unaffiliated. I don't have an opinion. I just look for what I think is right. Not saying I'm right, but what my viewpoint, what I think would be the best for people. That's the whole idea. Like that's what we need to do, is where we get to the point of stop going for the party line, stop looking at what people tell us is real, and looking at it from, yep, as the toy maker once says, now that everyone is right, everyone wins. Thus, everyone loses. Exactly. You have to take the good with the bad. You have to roll up your sleeves, maybe admit that you're wrong. Maybe admit that what you think is real isn't. And that's okay. It's okay to not be right. It's okay to struggle with things. It's okay to sit there and look at the world and try and figure out where you want your place in it to be. That's largely what I mean. I don't care whose side anybody is on. I don't care. I don't care because it doesn't matter to me, because I have my reality that I live in. Perception is 9/10 of reality. How you look at things, what you see. This is one of the most important things you will ever figure out in your world, in your life, is that what you see and what the person next to you sees are very different things. Your takeaways from it are very different. This is why I started talking about the Mandela effect. We have this idea right now that the world could be a simulation, or that, the crossing timelines and, some residue and stuff like that. I firmly believe that if the world really is a simulation, that is something that could happen. Just flat out. It could happen. And how does that really affect you, though? If now it's the way it's always has been, your memories of what it was don't really matter. It's not anything to spiral over. It's not anything to lose your mind over. It's something to mark down and move on. It's something to notice and realize, because we live in a world where we are manipulated constantly. Constantly. And that should bother people. Whether it's advertising, whether it's influencers, everybody's trying to manipulate you one way or the other. Even me, I don't intentionally do it, but my intended manipulation is to get you to think for yourself, to believe, to challenge your beliefs on whatever it is. That's really it. Because it doesn't matter to me what you believe. It doesn't matter to me if you believe that the movie Shazam was real and Sinbad actually started it. That literally doesn't affect your day-to-day. Doesn't affect my day-to-day. And I think a lot more people need to come to that conclusion, that how somebody else perceives you even doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how they perceive you, because either they're perceiving you correctly. So then what does it matter? They actually see you for you, or they're seeing you as something other than. Is it your job to correct them? Not really. It's not your job to correct them. You just show by example of what you are and what you do. And if they continually perceive you as being something else, something that you're not, that's their problem. That's their perception. And you probably will never win that argument. Flat out. If you try to argue against it. But if you continue to just be who you are and don't rise to the bait when they try to make you into something you're not. My brother used to do that to me all the time. My brother's older than me. He used to pick on me. He always, would always play up that I have an anger issue, that I'm an angry person. It's like, well, no, I'm just angry around you, because he was constantly picking on me. He was constantly trying to get me to rise to that bait. And much to my chagrin, growing up like that, I did rise to that bait. But I realized that he was basically the only person that could ever get me to do that. I was just an angry person around him. Other people, no. You know, I mean, it was really hard to make me angry when I was in school. Super difficult. But yet I fought with bullies all the time because they're picking on my friends. Because that's what I do. I defend people I care about. You know, that's really what I do. And it's just like when looking at the current world, whether you want to look at the fandoms, Hollywood, TV shows, whatnot, it really doesn't matter. What's up, dude? Wow. I think I heard that Anne Frank and MLK were both born in the same year and would be younger than Betty White, which is just hilarious to me. That is interesting. Like when you put that in perspective, like we know Betty White. I mean, Golden Girls. Who hasn't caught a few episodes of Golden Girls? I mean, that show has got to be timeless, like legitimately timeless. The concept of having a bunch of old ladies in a sitcom has got to be, because yeah, sure, you know, even now it can still be topical because it's a bunch of ladies with antiquated technology, you know, trying to get by day. Who doesn't have a grandma that's already doing that? Or their parents, you know, depending on how old you are, that are using antiquated technology to get through their day to day. Well, you know, that's brilliant. But you think about that. The Betty White is actually older than Anne Frank and MLK. Yet we think of, at least I do, when I think of Anne Frank, I think of somebody who's way old, you know, that's long ago. And MLK, you know, I mean, again, you know, older, but I wouldn't consider him. That's all stuff that happened before my time. Put it that way. You know, they were both gone long before I was born. Well, maybe not long before, but before I was born. And yet I grew up on Betty White. So my idea is that Betty White has to be younger than MLK or Anne Frank. But she's actually older. Like, I know that I read somewhere that Betty White is actually older than pre-sliced bread. You know, like the loaves you get in the store. She was born before they automatically slice that bread for you. That is something that is just hilarious to me. And that's, I guess, really what I mean is that when we think about the Mandela effect, that point out by Green Jeans right there, Anne Frank, MLK are older or younger than Betty White. That creates a cognitive dissonance. Like literally, you know, that's literally what that feeling is in your brain when it's like, wait, what? It's a cognitive dissonance. Your brain thinks one thing, and it's shown proof that it's a different way. And your brain wants to rebel against that because for some reason it wants to hold on to its initial concept. And that creates a cognitive dissonance. And when our brains hit on a cognitive dissonance, it's really hard for us to get over it. And that's what they mean by having an open mind. You have to think about what is really going on. You have to think about how the world works and what you're doing. You have to understand that everybody is trying to sway you, not necessarily lie to you, but they're trying to use the information that may or may not be true to their advantage. So when you read about certain files, when you read about certain wars going on, when you hear from certain politicians, remember, they're trying to sway your mind. They're trying to change your mind. And say you are absolutely opposed to Trump, and he says something that is patently obvious, but you think that he's a moron, which I do. It makes it hard to believe that he could do anything good, because he does so much, in my opinion, that I think is absolutely wrong, or at least done the wrong way. You know, I'm not trying to get into politics itself, but I'm trying to create a cognitive dissonance in people. Like, you have to understand that even as much as you may hate a person, they're not always going to be doing something you hate. It's like people saying a certain, German painter, wasn't all bad because he was a vegetarian or vegan, whatever it was. And he was absolutely against animal cruelty. But then he was so cruel to people. Like, I don't care how much over here he was doing good things. There are certain things that outweigh the bad. Like, specifically, he also had some pretty interesting issues with age of consent, if I remember correctly. But we have to understand that without what happened there, in that particular time span between 39 and 45, as horrible as it was, our modern world wouldn't be what it is today. That creates a cognitive dissonance. Without the atrocious medical experiments that certain people did, both in the East and in Europe, our medical science wouldn't be where it is today. I'm just telling you that right now. There is so many medical advancements that happened. And it's difficult, very difficult to understand that. Like, absolutely. It's atrocious to think about. Am I making myself clear? At least I hope I am. Because it's difficult to... We do not eat, drink, sleep, hero. We have moments where we choose to be... Oh, yeah. Which makes me believe villains do not eat, drink, and sleep villainy. Humans are complicated, so to simply understand them, we have to look at their defining moments. It's not even defining moments. Remember, people also get trapped. It's something that I try very hard not to do, is get trapped by my own community, get trapped by the people around me. I am willing to agree to disagree. I believe in the Second Amendment. A lot of people don't. That's okay. That is absolutely okay that you don't believe in the Second Amendment. It's my same belief in vaccines. I get a vaccine and maybe you don't. And that's fine. I get a vaccine for you because that's how it works. That's the whole point. I believe in the Second Amendment because it allows us to protect ourselves. Sure, if we lived in a much more densely packed world. Hey, what's up, Ghosty Boy? The Second Amendment would be a lot harder to validate. Now, to understand, America is filled with a lot of open space. Trust me, I've seen quite a bit of it. I've flown over the whole of the United States, from West Coast to East Coast. There's a lot of empty space down there. I've driven across Texas. There's a lot of slightly tired. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing pretty good. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand is just how big the US really is. Because most people don't really experience it. Like when I was in Greece, the speed at which I got across the country, not state, was impressive. The speed at which when we sailed across the Mediterranean Sea, from the Straits of Gibraltar out to the Suez Canal, again, super fast. Wouldn't even take us a week, not even a week. I think it was just like a few days. If it even that long. I remember it didn't take long. You know, well, let's put this in perspective. So sailing from Newport News, or no, we were in Baltimore. Sailing from Baltimore to the Straits of Gibraltar, which is where the Mediterranean Sea starts, took us a week. Sorry, not 2 weeks, a week to go across the Atlantic. It took us a few hours, like 4 hours to get to Crete. And then it was just another couple hours to get to the Suez Canal, that's all the way across Straits of Gibraltar to the Suez Canal. So you're talking less than a day to sail from the entirety of the Mediterranean Sea. So that's really small compared to how far it took us. So there's one. Now sailing from the Bahamas just over to Port Arthur, Texas, took us a day or so just to go from there. So the same distance of, around the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, I'm still calling it that. Think of the Gulf of Mexico, that whole inland sea area that, yes, it opens up to the ocean, but that whole area could probably swallow most of Europe. That's how big the US is. The Gulf of Mexico, just think of all that coastline from the interior of Florida all the way down. And a lot of that's also the Yucatan Peninsula and all of that stuff. But you're talking, woohoo! Building those streams back up, peoples. Oh, wow. You and Green Jeans are on the same streak day. That's funny. So when I talk about the size of the US, you got to realize sorry, I had to rock out. Saturday cut his power. No. But you got to understand that how big the US really is. It's so big that it can swallow so much. Okay, I was going to say, why isn't it showing? Oh, I got to move that. That's wrong. My camera's up too high. This one. That's got to come in front of the camera. Let me try that again. Make sure I hit the right one. Not emotes, you idiot. What's up, Jade? Yep, there we go. Okay, I got it right in front. Got to be able to see it. I didn't realize I had the layers Still learning, I've only been doing this apparently, what, 8 to 9 months? How's it going? It's going good. Going real good. We're talking about the size of America and why the Second Amendment actually makes sense. No. The layering, front to back, not top to bottom. Come on, green jeans. Get your head out of the gutter. But so the Second Amendment is important because there's so much empty space. We still have wild animals. I don't think Europe really understands what a wild animal is. I mean, just look at the difference between badgers. European badger versus an American badger. One looks like it wants to take you to tea. The other one looks like it wants to rough you up in a dark alley. But it's fun down here. Well, true. Just ask Pennywise. But, the point I'm trying to make is that there's different viewpoints, and that's okay. There's different reasons for each person to do a thing. There's different reasons for a person to have a Second Amendment. If you need a firearm, you need a firearm. I believe that is everybody's right as an American. In Europe, it might be a little different story. There's just too many countries. It'd be just a logistical nightmare. Where in America, we just have states and it's basically side to side. You don't have to have a gun permit for every state because we have federal gun rights. And that makes it a very big difference. I'm not saying that Europe doesn't have a crime problem. I'm saying that the logistics of enforcing the laws and rules on their gun problems would be extremely difficult. Just as like their socialist solutions, universal health care. I don't think people realize that while it works in smaller countries, like, oh yeah, sure, Canada's got a universal health care. And they have a population of about what, LA for the whole country? I mean, yes, I'm being facetious, but I'm saying that the whole country is a handful of our cities. We have what, almost 1 billion people or 500 million people in America? I know it's over 100, a few hundred or 500 million. I can't remember if it's 600 or 700 million. It's a lot of people in America. And according to Trump, the ones we know of, we might actually be over 1 billion if we actually could count everybody. I don't really know. What I am saying is that there's reasons for people to have their beliefs. And it's okay if their beliefs are different than yours. That's okay. What I think everybody should focus on is educating themselves about the beliefs that they held. About their beliefs. Why do they hold these beliefs? Do they hold these beliefs because their parents held them? Or did they actually... Sound alerts are muted. How did I miss that? You guys can't hear it? You couldn't hear the music? But it should be there. Well, technically, we should do universal health care for everyone. That really should be a... Yeah, it's not playing. Why is sound alerts not playing? That's strange. Sorry, I'm going to be a second. I'm going to try and figure this out. What the? Why am I getting feedback? What in the world is going on? My audio properties are doing badly. Why is it? Right. Yeah, that's the feedback that's happening. I'm trying to figure out why it's doing that. Why all of a sudden that's happening? Why did it sound so weird? Give me a second. Do I sound like really weird to you guys? Like it sounds tinny as hell. That's unusual. Give me a second. Maybe it's me. I don't know. That sounds really weird. Sorry, it's like it's weirding me out. Like one, you guys can't hear the sound alerts for some reason. That is so weird.
It wants your soup. It wants your soup.
Okay, I guess that's better. But I'm getting a weird, like the music. Wait, does it sound better now? It still sounds like echoey. Is that just me? But it feels like it's going through the wrong way. But I guess at least it's not feedbacking right now, so we're good. Right? But did you guys hear the soup alert? Did you hear that? No? What the hell? Yeah, because it should be. Now I can't hear the music. Okay, there we go. But it still sounds hollow. Dude, that's weird. Why can't you hear it?
Excuse me, can I speak to your manager?
Did you hear that one? Because it's saying it played through. But soup's not coming through.
It wants your soup. It wants your soup.
Yeah, desktop audio is seeing it, so it should be coming through. But yeah, it's very tinny. I don't even know what I really changed other than messing with it. But yeah, I don't know why it's being so tinny, so weird. But you guys say I sound fine. Like it's all looping through the same thing. Yeah, I am absolutely baffled. Yeah, I don't know why it sounds so tinny. Yeah, there's like a weird echo to it. Well, we're coming up on the time for me to change it anyway, so maybe I'll fix that. Or maybe it's because I had a power outage the other day. I mean, it wasn't for very long, but I think I had just shut down stream, was sitting here unwinding, and the power goes out. Just, it was only for like 10 minutes, maybe. Kind of cool looking. Everything went quiet. My fans are still humming. I might just need to shut everything down and restart it back up. But I don't figure we want to mess with that right now. But the point I'm trying to make right, tonight is the simple fact that you have to pay attention to the world around you. You have to educate yourself on your thoughts and feelings, on why you believe the way you believe. Not for anybody else, but for yourself. Why certain things work for you, but may not work for somebody else. And that's okay. You don't have to worry. Well, nobody should be imposing their will on somebody else, outside of where it harms them. If that makes sense. I don't like, somebody else on public transit playing loud ass music, for everybody to hear. The guys that used to have the boom boxes or their maybe little Bluetooth speaker blowing out the back end. No, we don't need that. There's rules against that for a reason. Whereas, telling somebody they can't have their headphones on while they're on public transit. Well, I don't think it's a smart idea. For some people, it might be the only way they can cope with having so many people around or so much going on. They have to isolate themselves. Okay. That's fine if that's how they have to cope with the people. I should not be sitting here telling them, no, you have to take your headphones off. Like, no, that's again, that's wrong. That's somebody imposing their will on somebody else. Those I see as abuse of power. And we are full of people abusing their power right now. And I guess I'm kind of hitting this point earlier than I expected. But the whole point, the big thing is that we need to quit worrying about what party somebody belongs to. And we need to start, or what fandom or whatnot. And we need to start educating ourselves on who they really are. What do they do? I don't care what side of the aisle, what side of whatever thing they're on. It's like people saying, oh, you can't, race swap a character. Why not? Can they play the role? If there was a Mexican actor that could play Black Panther, why not? If he can play the role. If we're not supposed to worry about color and racism and all of that, we should just be paying attention to who can play the role. A lot of people were up in arms about in the Doctor Strange movie and how the Ancient One was a woman. I'm sorry. I think her name was Tilda Swinton. I think that's who played the Ancient One. I could believe that she was an ancient master of martial arts, or not martial arts, but ancient master of, sorcery. What's wrong with that? Would you have to adjust the storyline a little bit? Now, if you're just swapping to swap, like, was there another actor that could play that role? I mean, me personally, I think the actor that they got to play Black Panther, brilliant. Was that Chadwick Boseman? Whoever did it did a great job. Which is why I think the Black Panther sequels didn't really go anywhere, because unfortunately he couldn't reprise his role. May he rest in peace. Which, it's like with Avengers Doomsday and having Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Dr. Doom. Why? There are several actors that can play that role. Why are they doing it? Well, because every other movie has basically sucked. Box office wise. I don't, they're not making the money they want to make. So they're trying to throw out nostalgia bait. Because it worked for Deadpool. Deadpool versus Wolverine. It should work for the rest, right? Problem is that it's not going to work. They're not going to be able to make the money back off of the movie. I'm sorry, they're just not. And because of that, I think we're going to have to understand that Marvel movies are going to be dead. They're not coming back. I mean, sure, they're going to keep putting them out there. But I think for the average fan, they're not going to be very good. Now, I've said a lot of my piece on that, what I want to say on that, on Marvel movies themselves. What I'm trying to get at is the fact that this current troubles, this cognitive dissonance we all have right now with the world around us, is because everybody's trying to manipulate you, go their own way, do their own thing. And it's not working. It is flat out not working. Because of this, we're running into this cognitive dissonance of nobody's able to make something out of pretty much anything without having 15 million dissenting voices. It's actually one of the reasons why the Republicans were able to win this last election, because right or wrong, the Republican Party isn't as fractured as the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is fractured. You have so many different people trying to run the party, lead the party, wherein the Republican Party, they pretty much only have one, maybe two people that are actually kind of in charge and moving things forward, which is really bad for everybody, because we're just not going to make a good governmental process out of, well, what tantamount is a single party. Because the Republican Party is the only one that can get the votes to win anything, because everybody else is like, oh, some of them still want Hillary. Some of them still want, what's his name? Sanders. Some of them still want, Gavin Newsom, The point is that we're running on a fractured world. And the only person that's actually galvanized everybody into one place is Trump. Either for or against, he's galvanized people on either side of the aisle, and he's manipulating all of it. For good or ill, he's manipulating all of it. It doesn't matter whether you agree with what he's doing or not. He's still ensuring that whatever he wants to get done is getting done. Or he's galvanizing his offense, his ops, so that he can get it done. Which basically means that we're effectively running on mob rule. We don't actually have a leader. And that's unfortunate. And I think that's the bigger problem with American politics right now, is that we don't really have a good system for breaking up these seats of power into better camps to where we can actually understand what they want. People say that, oh, you can't have a third party. Why not? Oh, because we're told we can't. But we can. Our politics actually makes room for that. All you have to do is have enough people vote for that third party. That's all it takes. You get enough people to vote for the third party, and it's now on the ballot. That's how we ended up with certain other parties. We know in the past that a third party can win. All we need is a charismatic person to take the reins and do something about it. Somebody that can actually galvanize people, that people can believe in, to do something, to get enough people behind them. You need to find somebody you agree with. Somebody, not just somebody that, you're presented with, but actually go find somebody who's trying to run in the political arena and do something about it. Because that's what we really have right now, is a very passive society. We're not actively doing anything. Or if we are, it's not in the way to get anything done. Whether you're for ICE or against ICE, you're really not getting anything done by the way you're going about it. Not really. Same thing with, when Trump's era of immigration enforcement is basically doing the exact same thing that the Obama era immigration enforcement was doing, you're really not changed anything. You're not really doing anything different. It's just in the news. That doesn't mean it's better. That doesn't mean it's right. And that's the problem is that so many people seem to think that might makes right. And in this case, might being the party with the most votes. And I think that's bad. I think that's ridiculous. It shouldn't be like that. We need to find a way to find a party that represents the people. You know, I know Elon Musk tried to do the America's Party, but I also haven't heard jack all about it since then. You know, so I don't think they're making any motion. Remember that, you know, the media is controlled through party politics. I also think that that's why the Mandela effect is such a big deal. The whole point is they're keeping us destabilized. We're not able to believe in anything, so we have to trust the news. We have to trust this pundit, that person, over here, over there. We don't have the time to make up our own minds because my show's on or this new video game came out. So I'm using some person that I listen to, whether it's news, influence, or whatnot. They need to form my opinion so I know who to vote for. We literally used to have a press system, newspapers, that had laws against that kind of thing. You used to have to, you know, have truth in news. They had to give equal or passive voice so that they weren't for or against anything when it came to politics. Sure, they could be against crime. They could, you know, write it that way. But when it came down to political arena, they just had to report the facts. News media used to have to do it too. Yeah, on TV, computer, you know, they used to have to do it too. But ever since the death of the newspaper, and what we have now that's considered newspapers are not what they once were. You can't trust anything. So you have to go and seek it out. We don't really have the time unless we take it. Right. It's homework. Right. It means we have to do something. Well, a lot of people don't like the world today, but a lot of people don't like hearing about you have to do something. You might have to listen to this left-wing politician over here, listen to what they're saying. Then you have to go and listen to this right-wing politician. You know, your local representatives. Which one are you going to go with? Not because of their party line, but because they're talking about things that really affect you. But see, that's the other problem is how many politicians run on a party, you know, run not just a party line, but run a whole campaign based on lies. They have no intent on doing anything of it. You know, and again, you know, we should have the opportunity to vote politicians out of office. We should be able to force a recount, not a recount, force an election. Because the person who said they were going to do stuff now is doing none of it. We should be able to vote them back out. I mean, there should be ways of the people being heard. I mean, we live in a time where we can count votes the moment it's it's logged. Why do we have to go through so much rigmarole? You know, I'm also a person that's for voter ID, not because it's going to, because any of the arguments against voter ID fall flat on their face. In my personal opinion, you know, they tell me, you know, I hear that, oh, you know, certain people can't get an ID. I have never once met a person. I mean, I know homeless people begging for change that have ID. And you're telling me somebody that has a job, has, you know, all of this other stuff, they can't present voter ID. I also think that, voting day should be a holiday paid for by the federal government through our taxes, that their pay gets paid to go vote. Get a half day pay, because that's all the longer it should take you. But I will be back in 5 minutes. Going to run the ad and I'll be right back. And I'm back. And welcome in Ninetales and happy birthday. I really hope it's been a good one. We all need a good birthday. See, that was one of the things back when I was working. My birthday was a sacred day. I always took it off. Wherever I was, whatever. That was like my one personal day off. So far, so good? Excellent. I just, and that's one of the things I don't think people do enough in the right ways. See, a lot of people will take, how do I put this? A lot of people will like try and get something here and there for themselves, but there's really no point to it. Whereas when it's your birthday, you actually have a reason. My birthday is my personal holiday. I don't expect anybody else to celebrate it. Other than I don't do anything. 35th. I don't think Ghost is still in here. I think he, oh no, he is. Never mind. Or at least the chat thing says he's here. Either way. I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm just saying that in reality, people should take their day off, their birthday off or whatever, day that they want to celebrate their birthday off. And I think it's the one day that everybody around them just literally lets them not do anything they don't have to. Oh, and I think I figured out the issue with the sound. Doesn't sound so tinny now, does it? What's up, Tater? Getting 2 weekends off on a row to celebrate. That's very nice. Long time no see, Tater. That's a joke. And Tater can verify, pretty much on people's birthdays, I tried not to let them have to do anything they didn't want to. Hi, babe. Did you hear me mention Tater, huh? Yes, hi. I so wish I could pick you up and show you off to the camera. Yeah. Both. Yes, years since seeing you. Absentia? Oh, nice. And creating a crossword puzzle. Nice. Absentia. I think I've heard of that one, but I don't know it off. But I think if people don't celebrate themselves on their birthday, like people try to celebrate or make it about them at the wrong moments, which is why I think, celebrating your birthday as it's your own personal holiday, not doing anything you don't want to, like I said, Tater, I think the cat distracted me. Tater would know that I tried to make sure that people have something special. Like we celebrated the wife's birthday this weekend. And part of that is that, she got in on Friday. And Tater and I worked together to make one of my wife's favorite meals, which is just broccoli beef. And we just homemade broccoli beef for her. She absolutely loved it. It wasn't hard. And that was something special. And that's the point, is trying to give people something special. I think people around you on your birthday should give you something special. They should reach out. They should because that makes you feel special. That way you don't have to try and take it somewhere else. Make yourself feel special somewhere else. Yeah, I knew it. You knew I was going to try and pick you up. You let me pick you up any other time, but as soon as I try to pick you up and put you on camera, like the wife. Yes. Well, I was trying to get her for you guys, but she don't like it. She's gotten to the point where she lets me pick her up, but not on camera. It's hilarious. But I think we try to take back our own, or, make it about us at the wrong moments, because we don't do it when it's the right moments, like our birthday. The birthday really, should be respected. Not because we're that special, but it's the one day we get to act like we are. If that makes any sense. And there's other holidays and stuff like that. Like if you have a significant other, anniversaries and stuff like that. There are days that you can take too, but I think the birthday should be the special one. And it's not about the presents. It's not anything like that. It's just about doing what you want to do. The wife wanted to sit back and watch TV all weekend. That's why I didn't stream the last, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, was because we were celebrating the wife's birthday. I took that time out so that if she wanted to do something special, I had no plans. Right. Togetherness and good times. We sat down and we watched Fallout Season 2 all the way through. I will suggest that show to anybody because it is a great, great show. Right. Yeah, yours is Halloween. When I was growing up, Halloween was a great one for me too. Not because of the spookiness or anything like that. It was about crafting a costume or buying the pieces to make a costume. Because I hardly ever, yes, hi. I hardly ever went with the bought pieces. I would buy pieces to craft my own costume. There was a comic book I used to follow a little bit, and I think it was called Lady Death, but in it there was a guy named Kid Death, which I dressed up as Kid Death one year. Yeah, I was 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that neighborhood. Which was fun. Me and my brother did a board costume. There was so much that we did. Halloween was actually a very important, holiday. And when I was a kid, Christmas wasn't super big holiday for the family other than getting together as a family. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't do enough of. And I don't mean actual family. I mean getting together as a group with people that you consider family. And in today's day and age, it's really hard to do. There's people in my life I would definitely like to spend more time with, but I just can't right now. I don't have the means or the opportunity at the moment. Yes, I think. Come here. It's okay. Yes. It's okay, Fluff Butt. Yes. See? You just don't even want to look at the camera. Look at you. There she is. There's the fluffer. Yes. You good? You good? Yeah, you just really don't like being on camera. Careful. There you go. Well, I tried. You're going to be mad at me for a while. Right? No, she's just staring off into nothing. It's kind of hilarious. Oh yeah, she's very camera shy. Well, that's why the camera was moving for a while, because I was trying to get her on camera, but she wouldn't do it. Like, I'd have the camera like just over this shoulder is her cat tower. You guys can barely see her. Then I have that, green blanket in the background, but she wouldn't get on that until after stream. So annoying. But yeah, I mean, back to the point is that I really think that people need to, not forcing anybody else to do anything, but they need to celebrate themselves. And they don't have to worry about who else is celebrating with them. That's really what it is. The people that matter the most in your life will be around to do it. If they at all can. That's the harder part, is also understanding that sometimes people just don't have that ability that we want them to have. It sucks, but that's the way it goes. And I think that's kind of the point of why I was talking about the Mandela effect, is because if we take the time to be sure in our own selves and what we believe and what we do, and just have confidence in who we are, it won't matter what somebody says, because they don't matter. If they don't understand what you're trying to say, they don't matter. I know that's probably a terrible and hard thing to say, but it's the truth. They don't matter. In as much as they should have an effect on your life. I'm sure that there's a bunch of people out there that have said a lot about, pick a community, whether it's a fandom, you're a fan of Star Wars, Star Trek, blah, 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 blah. Somebody said something bad about it. But if you like it, more power to you. Go for it. And that's what really should matter, is having confidence in yourself and what you like, not having to validate it through other people. I mean, most religions, they sit there and try to convert other people for validation on their own beliefs. Well, do you believe it or not? If you believe it, shouldn't it not matter what other people believe? I mean, sure, you might want to save them from hell or some kind of damnation of one kind or another. But if they believe in a different religion than you, they might be trying to do the same thing. So the fact is that maybe just respecting those beliefs is more important than converting them to your belief. And I think, politicians, political arenas could be the same thing. Gender roles could be the same thing. Because, we have this idea of what gender roles are, but that's a societal norm, not a real thing. Sure, there's limitations on each side for certain things. We live in a world where that don't matter. Like, flat out. We live in a world where any kind of job can be given to any kind of person with reasonable accommodation for the most part. I mean, you couldn't be an usher at a stadium if you're in a wheelchair. Let's just be honest, those stairs are going to be hell on any kind of wheelchair. But Obviously, don't go too gonzo with it. But the idea is that, most of construction now, you don't have to be built and strong to swing a hammer all day. Most construction is done with, nail guns or staple guns. 12-year-olds can wield those. Who cares what gender it is? That's the point I'm trying to make is we live in a world where there's really no gap in just about anything. Well, there's pay gaps all over the place. It's not what I'm talking about. But gender gaps in the abilities to do things. This argument over people, who should be in sports and who shouldn't be, I think is ridiculous. I think that it really shouldn't matter. I do think that a certain amount of obvious testing should be done. But again, I'm no medical person, so I'm not going to sit here and argue one way or the other. I think most sports should be gender neutral. If somebody wants to play football, let them play football. As long as they can play the game. As long as they can, try out with the rest of everybody else. Hockey, sports, doesn't matter. Given that, the Winter Games just closed is probably why I'm thinking about the sports. And that's what I'm saying is that we shouldn't be arguing over stuff like that really doesn't matter. I'm sorry. I know for a lot of people, sports is a big deal. But in the grand scheme of things, sports is a time waster. What do they call it? Is it baseball or football that's America's pastime? But either way, what's pastime? It's just something to pass the time. It has no effect on your daily life, or it shouldn't. It shouldn't affect your relations with work, but it does. Because people take it that way. But sports don't matter. Really, they don't. There is nothing that sports teaches you in the grand scheme of things. Sure, teamwork, but you can teach teamwork in many different ways. There's so many things that we get caught up in that I don't think we should be. We have the opportunity in our world to do so much, but we do so little with it. To be perfectly honest, we do so little with it. There is so many bridges we could build if we stopped worrying about trying to get them well, exactly. But also, the fact is that, men will excel at certain sports because, well, one, we like physical confrontation. That's why football is almost solely a male sport. But I've seen some women that I grew up with that could play football with the boys, no problem. But yeah, genuinely everyone is different. Gendered sports, I don't understand why women can't play baseball. Baseball, the key component is either throwing or hitting a ball in a relative short space. There is no reason to not allow women to play baseball. Now, I don't know how many women actually want to play regular baseball. Fast pitch is a thing. And there's lots of leagues in that, I think. Right? And that's... Don't even get me started about A League of Their Own. Okay, that is a great movie that they didn't learn the lessons from. It was a good movie that the fact that there is a women's basketball league before a women's baseball league in modern day. Or maybe there really is a women's baseball league. I just never hear about it. But the fact is that I don't understand how women and men couldn't be playing on the same team in baseball. While maybe, and please understand, I'm not trying to make any, statements. Like maybe a woman can't throw a baseball as fast as the guy. But also, don't women have better control? Like they have more fine motor control where a guy has more bulk and, speed motor control. And aren't some of the craziest pitches in baseball more about fine motor control than your power and speed? Now, I'm not a huge baseball fan, so I could be wrong here, but I'm just saying, let alone being able to hit the ball from a baseball bat or from the batter's mound. See, this is how little I play baseball. Sure, power plays a role. Yes, I know the women's hockey team won gold this year. In fact, so did the men, in which this makes it a banner year for American winter sports because we haven't won the hockey since 83, 84. The dream, no, it wasn't the dream team. What were they? Miracle on Ice is what it's called. I only know that because of an episode of American Dad. And Roger having to return his gold medal because he cheated. Green Jeans, look at what you wrote. It was belt to ass all season for the women. Was that intentional? Because in my mind, a belt to ass, that's not very far. So I'm not sure what the statement is. And yeah, bowling. Okay. New saying. Yes. All right. Right. I also heard that there was some scandal about the couple's ice skaters. But yeah, I mean, mixed leagues for bowling, like bowling is about tight, control, not power. I used to play on a league. There's no reason why women can't. Like legitimately. And Canada cheating scandal. Hadn't heard about that one. But that's the point I'm trying to make here is that you think about most of the sports and other than a few exceptions, like mixed hockey league, I think might be a little bit hard, or a mixed football team, but I'm sure that there are women that can do it. Would there be a lot fewer? Probably. But mixed, Major League Baseball, baseball bat, because sure, maybe the women don't have the power to get the home run, but from what I understand, it's more about where you center the ball in the bat than it has really to do with your power. Power is just compensation for lack of control and, position. I'm just saying that once you get beyond a certain point, it really doesn't matter. And it frustrates the hell out of me how much that we try to fence in things the way we do. We do it all the time. It's terrible. It's brutal. We need to get over it. We need to stop it. We need to stop worrying about a person's look and more worrying about what they're doing, how they're doing the thing they're supposed to be doing. That is the huge point I'm trying to make is that exactly. Well, that's the point I'm trying to make is that that's in anything. anything, not just sports, but just let people play, have fun. Who cares? You know, sports was supposed to be entertainment and fun. You know, I mean, I'd be hard pressed to find a woman that I think could box against, say, Mike Tyson in his heyday. But there wasn't very many men that could box against Mike Tyson in his heyday. So that's really not a good statistic. You know, when you're talking about outliers, and when you've restricted women from being in sports for so long, or, you know, competing on an even playing field, it makes me wonder, like what Ninetales brought up here, gather the statistics. Do we have accurate statistics on how women play and how well they would compete actually against men? I don't know. Because we restrict it. We restricted it for so long, we probably don't have good, accurate details. And it makes me wonder what would happen if we really did get good details. I mean, I doubt there's many men that could compete against, say, Tanya Harding in figure skating. And we all know how that went. You know, I mean, how many male gymnasts can do the floor routines like, what was her name? Mary Lou Retton. You know, right. So maybe we need to change that idea a little bit. You know, and people get hung up on these ideas of, oh, you know, you can't do, you know, women can't do this, women can't do that. How do you know? When was the last time you let them? When was the last time you gave them a shot? You know, and that's a lot of the problems that we see today is people, you know, and I'm not just talking about gender. I'm talking about races and all of this, you know. People love to hold up whatever statistics they want. And, you know, oh, it's uniquely this. Oh, it's uniquely that. And it's like, that's pocket racism. Genderism. Whateverism. Is that really fair? No. It's not fair at all. And I don't think that we really know the reality of any of it, whether that comes down to politics or whatnot. I mean, what isn't even, you know, are politics more male-sided? Like, don't we have more men in power than women? I mean, we still haven't elected a female president. Although I think Bill Clinton came pretty close. Was pretty sure who was actually running things back then. But I don't cognitively see any reason why that should be. I mean, hell, look at Congress right now. The women are just as corrupt as the men, so that means they're just as effective politicians. I mean, what? AOC was supposedly went in there as a broke bartender, came out as a millionaire? That's confusing. And don't even get me started on Nancy Pelosi. You know, and that's the, you know, they point that out, but I mean, it's like Trump barely could scrape a few hundred million together. And this run, what? He's already getting close to $1 billion now? How is he making all this money when you're not supposed to be making money as a president? How is his net worth going up? And he thinks there might be some corruption going on. But that was also under Biden too. So, he went into office poorer, went out of office richer. So, that's how politics is run for so long. Hell, I think the only one that didn't was George W. Bush. But, people forget that it takes millions upon millions of dollars to run for an office. And I think that's by design, because it's not about your gender. It's not about the color of your skin. It's not about any of that. It's about money. Politics is all about money. Well, in fact, right now, the money doesn't matter. Right now, it's an attention economy. Who can get the most attention? Which is why Trump's in the lead. The dude just not only seeks attention, he knows how to get your attention, whether you like it or not. And that's really what our politics runs on, is attention economy. So what I say is quit paying attention to them. Start researching them. Might sound a little, counterintuitive, but actually, next election cycle, whatever it is, actually research what the people that are in front of you, have done in the past versus what they say they're going to do. We should really seek out people, regardless of party, on the grounds of what they are planning to do. And, again, base that off of their experience, what they have done versus what they said they were going to do. Research their past campaigns, not the current one. That is what we really need to be paying attention to, is their history, not their present. It's why I couldn't vote for Kamala Harris. I will say I did not vote for Kamala Harris. I also didn't vote for Trump because I didn't want either of them to win. Kamala Harris had 4 years as vice president. And I really could not tell you one thing that she did at all. I didn't know really what she did. And she made all these promises of what she was going to do. And I'm like, but you already had 4 years. Yes, that is what they're supposed to be doing, but who actually does it, Tater? Do you think we'd have the politicians that we do now in Congress, Senate, President, if people actually research their history versus what they're saying they're going to do? Well, maybe. Who knows? But I couldn't tell you, there was, just compare it with JD Vance. In the last year, he has been in more things that's going on and has talked to the public more often than in, I think, 4 years of Kamala Harris. Either that or else she was so beige, I couldn't even remember who she was. And well, that's the problem is that, yes, politics is corrupt. But I think people need to pay attention more. We need to hold politicians accountable. Not through violence, not through anything like that, but through actual paying attention to what they say they're going to do versus what they do. If a bill goes in, and your politician has a chance to vote on it, you better be, that's one of the things I think we do need, now that I'm thinking about it, we actually need better access to our representatives. Write a letter, send an email. But we know that they're never going to really see it. No politician is out there reading every email they get. They don't have the time. From what you've seen, people that want to help decide what the people should be allowed to do aren't good people. Very true. Very true. Like, okay, take me, for instance. If I was to run for office, my platform would be extremely simple. It'd be difficult to get done, but it'd be extremely simple. My platform would be to reform the voting, reform medical, and reform immigration policies. That's it. The economy? Yeah, okay. I'd probably also reform the economy. Because the real root of everything is the economy. You want to break the backs of politicians? Make the people richer. You want to destroy the power that they have? That pretty much every lobbying firm has? Make people comfortable. You make the population comfortable, not distracted, comfortable. Give them security, medical security, that kind of thing. If you can give them security, they won't be trying to escape into so much entertainment. They won't be trying to escape into drugs, alcohol, whatever, people use to escape. They'll actually be satisfied. They'll be able to search out and seek out things to enrich themselves, not to distract themselves. I don't know about you, but when I'm comfortable and secure, it is so much easier to just sit down with a good book. It's so much easier to sit down and just play a video game and goof off. It's so much easier to go talk with the people and be happy and be not depressed. But see, depression is what makes money. That's why I don't watch shorts, TikTok, that's why I don't watch short form media. It is literally designed to degrade you. It is literally designed to ruin your self-worth. Same reason why I don't use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I don't use any of these. Most social media, I'm not even on, which just is also the reason why, such stagnant growth to the channel. I don't really care. I'm not going to compromise myself and what I believe to explode my channel all artificially, because that's how I really see it. Sure, I can make a few clips, short clips, throw them up on, YouTube shorts, throw them out here and there and get people, to come to my channel. But I'd still probably have the same number of viewers that I have now. Sure, I might have more followers, but I wouldn't have the same, but I would have the same number of viewers. People come to watch for whatever reason. They come to watch me, whether I'm playing a video game, whether I'm just talking to you guys. If I clip a few funny moments or irritating moments, like I say something controversial, like, hey, we should just make all sports non-gender, and just throw it out there on shorts or something like that. Of course, that's going to, increase the eyeballs that come here. But they come here for the wrong reason. They come here because of that statement, not because I somehow made it better. No, true. I will totally agree to that. I'm also funny to look at. I still don't know why my wife's with me, but that's okay. She has bad taste. Either way, she's happy with me. That's my living. Don't tell her I said that. She kicked my butt. The point I'm trying to make is that we can clip and we can farm and curate, right? You can farm for engagement. What do you think politicians are doing? Like, hey, that's not fair. You actually have her, you can actually text her. But she knows I say that about myself all the time, and I don't really mean it. Do I look like Brad Pitt? Hell no. There you go, Nine Tails. That's probably what it is. I make her look better. But that's what I think a lot of people need to understand is take a look at the creators. Take a look at all the influencers and how they farm for engagement. Compare that to politicians. And you will see such a parallel that it will disturb you, that it'll mess you up inside, because then you don't know what to believe. You want to believe that your influencers, your creators are doing it because they want to. But how many of them have farmed it for personal gain? You know, they play certain games just to get more eyeballs on it. I do what I do because I enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy what I do. You know, it's like, I really like the game Scarlet Hollow. And I know a few of you really like it. But I know quite the majority of you don't even show up when I play. Same thing with Borderlands. I'm sorry, but I like playing those games. And I'm going to play them. Well, I actually find that just that I know you're trying to be funny, Ninetales, but it's also disingenuous. Because let's be honest, more men have murdered over a woman than a woman has murdered over a man. Same thing goes with medication. I'm just going to put that out there. Men, and, you know, that's not my experience. Yes, I know it was a... Hello, Kitty. You're on the keyboard again. But most of what we see today is farming for engagement. We live in an attention economy. We often think about it as money. But, you know, that's why I don't farm for engagement. That's why I don't make these snappy thumbnails or whatnot. I'm just me. I don't want to give people a false idea of who I am. I'm not slick. I'm not corporate. I do this all by hand. And if that doesn't resonate with people, that doesn't resonate with people. I don't really care. I just do this because it's fun and I really don't have anything better to do. Let's be honest. I enjoy it. I get something out of it. I hope you guys are getting something out of it. And that's really what it comes down to. I don't do this for the attention, as much as that might sound. Yes, I think the cat is attacking. As much as that might sound funny, I don't actually do this for the attention. To be perfectly honest, I don't ever have to stream again. Like, I could turn this off and I would not really feel that bad about it, other than, you know, I would miss the contacts. I do it because I have fun. You know, but I also could just play video games on my own time too. Have conversations with friends. I do this because I have the equipment. You know, it was never intended for this purpose, but I actually find this much more fulfilling than what the purpose was before. And I'm going to keep doing it because I like it. I love doing this. It's fun. I love engaging with you guys because that's really what it is. And sure, maybe that means I want a little attention. Maybe I like having this conversation with people. Sure. Well, in fact, I do. But I don't need it. I've proven that to myself time and time again. I don't actually need that many people. I can be very self-contained. And yet here I am. I just want to share stuff with people. You know, and I'm happy with what I've got going right now. I am happy with the number of people. You know, I mean, I make $50, give or take, every couple of months. It buys me a new video game here and there that I can share with you guys. You know, next month it's going to buy me a drawing tablet that I'm going to draw, you know, on stream with you guys. Whether that goes anywhere or not, that's what I'm going to try and do. Hope you enjoy it. You know, I mean, I'm doing it because I want to. And being here, you know, I hope you guys challenge me, you know, talk to me, make me think different things, because that's the other part of this, is making me challenge my own ideas, my own beliefs, just as much as I try to challenge your beliefs. I don't do this. I don't challenge your beliefs to change your mind. I challenge your beliefs so that you know what you believe. Because too many people don't. Too many people just believe because they're told to believe. They don't really have to think about what they believe. And there's people out there that absolutely freak out when their beliefs are challenged. And I feel really sad for them. Good night, Green Jeans. Yeah, I was going to get going here shortly anyway. Because they never really think about what they're doing or why they're doing it. They just do it because their parents told them to. And it's sad. It really is sad. But I hope you guys had fun. I hope you enjoyed your time here. I think Green Jeans is, you know, right. I think it is time to wrap it up. You've listened to me ramble for 2 hours. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that, Tater. Well, and like I said, I was just wrapping it up. So. Hey. Honestly, I don't think cats can screw it up too much more than anything else. Need me to send you my recipe for chicken soup, Tater? But anyway, guys, I hope you had fun. I hope to see you here tomorrow night. Also, remember, Friday, I'll be streaming a little earlier with Ghost. And we'll be doing... Oh, okay. So if you did a heavy workout, was it arm and chest? If it was, what you're feeling is the muscle swelling and tightening and recovering. I know about that. But yeah, I'll be on a little earlier on Friday because Ghost and I will be playing Hightail. Arm, shoulder, and back. Yep. Yeah, there you go. Take it easy, rest. Well, they're in the process of taming the humans to be their servants. They're getting there. But anyway, I love you guys. You have a good night. Hope to see you tomorrow night. We'll be playing Borderlands 2. So, see you then. Good night. Yes, you all sleep well. Love you, Tater. Love y'all. Good night.
I let go and the ground let me. Streetlight shades fall quietly. Every sound drifts out of phase. Every fear begins to fade. Windows slide beneath my feet. The city